All right, this activity, I'm going to be making the swivel base in AutoCAD. And so rather than make all new layers, which is what's required for this, the trick is to take an existing drawing that already has all the layers. So here is a drawing. This is the bracket design, and I'm going to essentially copy all these out of here. And so the way that I do that is I go into the layers and I select the layer states manager. And I'm going to just make a new one here. I'll say new, and I'm going to just call this layers. All right. And I'll just say, keep it as layers. All right. And say, okay. And I'll export that out, and it's just in the default. Notice it's a .las. All right, there it is. And I'll close this. And so what I'll do then is I'll create a new drawing, and the swivel base is in inches. It says inches, and I'll say okay. And so in the layer, so you'll notice there's nothing there. Obviously, we're going to import it, but what you need to do first is you need to go to the line type, and I'm going to load, and I'm going to select Control. I'm going to select Control A, and I'm going to select everything. All right. And so then when you go to your layers, you'll notice that if you go to the line type, they're all there. And then I will go and proceed to import all the layers. So I'll say in the layer states manager, import, and it's at the same default, which is in my documents. And I'll just say, now it wants to default to .dwg. We want to make sure that it's in the .las. And then I'll go to the layers, and open, and it should have everything in here. Very well. Cool. So that's going to help me out tremendously. Only thing I'm going to do here then is I want to default in my construction layer. All right, so good. Now, this part is a little deceiving because if you add this up 0.63, 0.75, and 0.63, you actually get 2.01. So it actually should be 0.625. They round it up, which is probably not the smartest thing because it's very confusing because you get some weird numbers. And so we're just going to round this down to 0.625, and that gives us 2 inches. So let's go ahead, though. We're going to go to our layers, and we're going to go into our construction line. And I'm just going to type in 0, 0. You want to be really careful, though, that when you do this, that you're snapping your settings. That's my polar snap is already preset at 90 degrees, and it's doing it increments of 90 degrees. So there's 0. All right. And so in these kind of activities, we want to make this the top, and that's pretty obvious. But typically, the object with the most mass is going to be the front. So I'm going to make this the front view here. So knowing that the overall width of this is 2.5 plus 1, the radius. So therefore, I would say offset, and the distance is going to be 3.5. All right, so that's going to be 3.5. And then the height of this is going to be, says 0.95. So I'll type in 0.95. There we go. And then I'm just going to make this 1 inch offset. 1. And then this is going to be the top view. And so it tells us that's 2 inches from the top view. All right. So it's probably not a bad idea before I get too carried away to just put some rough dimensions on this for myself, just so I can see what just verify what I'm doing. So 0.95, that's correct. Okay, so let's add some more construction line. And so I'll work on this bottom one. I'll do some horizontal here. So I'll go to the offset, and it says that it's 0.95 total, but 0.35 is the lower set of material here. 0.35. Oh, do that again. Offset distance. There we go. And so it's 0.95. So that's good. Let's do the top one at this time, because this is the only 2 horizontal lines I need on this front view. And then here, I'm going to need the center of this. So that's going to be of the circle. It's going to be 1 inch offset. So select the object here and I'll type in 1. And while I'm here, let's go ahead and make the other one. So what I mean by that is this radius. But what I need is the center of this. So I'll select this object here and I'll type in 1 for the horizontal. All right. And so what I should be able to do then is I should just be able to just verify that by making a circle radius and snapping this. And if that's correct, that should be 1 inch. And so that looks good. And so let's make another one. So that is the center. We'll do another one at 0.75 and we'll work our way out. This time I'll do it as a diameter, circle diameter. And I'll type in 0.75. And let's make another one. This one's going to be 1.25. Oh, I did it the wrong way. Try that one more time. It's always best to, I find, rather than pushing enter, for some reason the radiuses and the diameters don't always play nice. So then this one's going to be 1.25. All right, and so let's just real quickly here, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's just verify these dimensions. Okay, that's not right. That's why we double check everything. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. That's right, because it's showing diameter. We're good. So rather than have to do all this math, let's just verify all this. Okay, good. All right, so then let's work our way over. Now, what I could do here while I'm here, let's go ahead and just take this and throw this into the layers. And so rather than go and build them, I like to just take them from construction and just throw them right in there, right? All right, this one didn't want to do that one, so we'll put that back in construction. This is not going to be part of my dimensions, and I'll probably exclude it here. Let's go ahead and offset this side. So what I need to do is, I know it's 0.65, excuse me, 0.6, and then I'll work my way out from there. So I'll type in offset. And I'll type in 0.6. Sorry. And then we'll work our way out here. All right, and so it's 0.25. I'll do another one here on my offset. 0.25. Okay, and then I think it's a good idea to just make sure we have the overall dimension. So it's 3.5. Let's just double check these dimensions. So this one to the center here we said is 0.6, and then this should be overall 0.5. Okay, that looks good. All right, so now I can start just building this. A couple more things I want to do is, I find the easiest thing to do is on these, you just have to be very careful, but I want to go ahead and snap this on here. Just make sure that your increments of 90 degrees when you do this, but we're going to need these for the bottom. So 270, so everything looks good. And I've already verified the dimensions, so that's going to be a big help. All right, so now I'm going to start building this out here. Again, you could go ahead and just get in the layer you want to get into here. So 2.5. And so, for example, what I'm saying I would do is just go ahead and I've got these parts here. I'm going to go ahead very quickly and throw them into my, this is a little faster way of doing it. I'll type in fillet, and it told me that the radius is 0.25. Hit enter again. All right, looks good. And then I'll build this one out here. start at the bottom, come up, and then I'm coming to this cone here. You just got to watch what you're doing. That's why these construction lines are very helpful here. Oh, I forgot to add a construction line, but I could just cheat like this. Let's see if I can cheat. And I'll add that construction line there. So you can see in my settings, I've got that done here. And so what I would do then is go ahead and take this and throw this into my object line again. And I have it turned off, but you can see how thick it is. Other thing I would do though is I probably want to bring this all the way over. Snap that on there. And let's go ahead and make another object line just to be sure here that that's lined up properly. Sure enough, that looks good. Okay, so you can see how quickly it is once you have these done. And so it's not a bad idea to just turn your construction lines off, even though it's the current layer, just to see where you are. All right. So obviously I'm going to need to build this here where that slot is. So let's go ahead and turn the construction lines off and build that. And so it tells me that it is, I want to have a center of that is 0.625. I wish it wouldn't say that. So let's go here and we'll do an offset. The distance is going to be 0.625. Set the this. And come on. Oh, it has the dimension. That's why it's doing it. Okay. Okay, and that should be the center. So if that's correct, then that means that this distance should be 0.375. Excuse me, 0.75. That's right. Okay, and so let's go ahead and build that out. So I'll go circle center radius. Do it again. And then I can just build these lines here. And I can trim this in a minute. Throw this into my, and again, you know, do what's easiest for you. Let's trim this. All right, and all right, looks good here. So now all I need to do is make my hidden lines and my center lines. I recall that I need to change those two, but let's go ahead and build these out. So let's hidden line right here. So I'll just come up from there, come down, do another one. So I like to do them all at once, meaning that I just build all the hidden lines and then I'll just take that layer. So I'll just grab these two here and grab these two. And it didn't draw it, but let's go ahead and throw this into my, it's going to be my hidden lines. Let's make another one here. You know, I could just say mirror, but I'm really being lazy here. All right. And so I can tell that that line's a little too thick, and we can fix that in a minute. And so let's go ahead and do that right now. Let's go ahead and turn off the construction line. And what I'll do then is I'll go to my, so rather than go from the part, I'll go to my layers, and that was the hidden line. And I'll double click on the line type, and I'm going to change this. It's got to be a smaller one. There it is, 0.5x. And I'll say, okay, so that changed it, which is really nice. I have a feeling my center line is going to be the same problem here. So let's turn on so what I could do a couple things here. Let's go ahead and turn the construction line back on. And I need a couple lines here. So probably the fastest thing to go dimension, excuse me, center mark there. And I'll do the same here, center mark there. So what I need to do though is probably be easier if I did this in the other one, is then I can take those center marks and let's just throw that into the center line. Okay, and then let's make a couple more center lines here. So I'm going to just start above it. You always want to go through the part. It's a little confusing when you have the construction lines on, but it's a huge help. So then I'll take these two lines here and let's throw that into the center line. And I noticed that if I turn the construction line off again, both of them selected. All right. Again, I think the center mark is also, the center line is a little off here. So my center line, and let's go like this. And we want it to be a 0.5. That'll be half the length of those. And so I'll just cheat a little bit here. All right, there we go. And so things you could do now that I'm here, for example, if you're going to make from the top the center mark, I'm going to come up a little bit here. Let's make this line. Unfortunately, I need to turn my construction layer back on. Grab this line. Let's throw it into the center line. And what I would do is actually, let's go ahead and rotate this. Rather than make it 4 times, select the object, base point, and I want to hit copy. Let's do that again. Rotate, base point again, copy. Oh, didn't copy. Let's try it one more time. Select objects. Base point, come on, copy, copy. And hopefully it does it this time. Okay, and I could do the same over here if I wanted to, same idea. We're going to add some dimensions, so maybe I'm just going to hold off on that. So let's add these dimensions here. So so far so good. Now I'm going to dimension this in the way that it's dimensioning. Believe it or not, you don't dimension the whole part when it has a radius like this. Typically what you would do, now maybe I'll go ahead and turn my dimensions on. Let's make my dimensions my active layer. And then let's go ahead and throw some dimensions on here. Now I had some dimensions earlier, but I was really just using that to just verify. So if I was going to dimension this, believe it or not, I would come and I would actually verify, I would dimension to the center of the circle is how you do this. And then what I would do is have this as a radius, and this is typically how you would do it. Now, let's go ahead before I get too far into this, let's go ahead and fix my dimension style. Even though I don't agree with what they did here, we could change this as 0.625. It really should be in the tens, hundreds, and the thousands. I think so. For example, I would probably do it here. If you notice, we're suppressing the leading 0. All right, set that current, I'll close. So again, it's the reason why I'm going to do this is because if you add this dimension here, I think it's just harder to understand what you're doing here. So that should be 0.625 is what I was trying to say about this. And then again, you really want to have these spaces. So it's okay to go in after the fact and just clean up these dimensions. All right. Then this one we said was going to be, should be 3/4 of an inch. So if I wanted to, I could change my dimensions a little bit, the size to make them fit, but that's okay. Yeah, you really want to avoid the text overlap if you can. Okay, so let's just make some better time here. And less is more when you dimension like this. You just need the very minimum to be able to draw, make the part. So let's make this the diameter so we can be consistent here. I think you guys all get the idea here. So it's actually showing that as 0.5. Okay, so let's add a couple more dimensions here. That is right. So what you could do is, if you wanted to, you could take all these dimensions if you're trying to be consistent with a book. I do think you want to add that 0.625. And you can either go here, or you should be able to do the, let's see here. I always lose this as I go along here. The precision, we could do it right here too. All right, I just think that you're going to need this 0.625. Otherwise, you come up with an odd number. And so what I mean by that is if you would build this, you just get some weird numbers if you're just following the example from the textbook. All right, so okay, so you could probably clean this up a lot better than I have here. You get the idea. I think I have all the dimensions that I need. Let's just look here, 0.35, 0.95. I just need to build this. Less is more when you do these kind of dimensions. I'm pretty confident with that. I actually don't need this 2 inches. I would never show that because I could deduce that from this radius here. So this is technically the way you would do this. And so I might want to clean this up a little bit, but I think I'm pretty good with this. So what we've done is we've imported the layers and then we've used the construction line process to throw things in the properties into the proper layers. And that is the conclusion of the Swivel Base exercise.